It's Rich, Jesse Homestead. How the heck are you? Well, I said I was going to do up a couple of videos trying to let you in on some of the things that I'd ran into out west. And I'm going to try to do this in a very peaceful way. I've tried making this video a couple of times, and now I'm going to try to do it calmly and go over just facts. Okay. The reason I get so irritated is I'm going to be talking to you about some of the guys out west and some of the things I learned while I was out there, which I found fascinating. And it focuses a lot on BLM, Antifa, media, and the Democratic Party. Okay? They are all interconnected, intertwined, folks. They really are. And we better wake up. We better wake up. Because it's coming at us. Okay? It really is. So let's get started on this. Let's start off with BLM and their nonsense. BLM's primarily pushing to do damage to law enforcement, demoralize it, to turn people's opinions against it, to get politicians to defund it. Primarily, they're going to be democratically held areas, but to try to do that. And they're utilizing any made-up, literally made-up, causes to try to say, oh, these guys were doing things wrong. Okay. When you start looking at some of this stuff, Michael Brown, okay, piles of witnesses. That officer went through 3 different trials on this. Won all 3 court cases, by the way. Michael Brown was attacking him. Tried to take his gun while he was still seated in a patrol car, and then came charging at him, even though being told to stop, trying to wrestle him to the ground and get that gun away from him, and would have probably killed him if he had. That's the Michael Brown case, in a nutshell, okay? The only person who, gave the old hands up, don't shoot stuff with his good buddy, which, they just came from a strong arm robbery out of a small convenience store. And we get the narrative of all this. And of course, the rioting, the burning, the looting, and all this kind of stuff takes place immediately. Listen, the organizers and the people behind Black Lives Matter are actually trained Marxist communists. Okay? And they got a plan. And their plan is, folks, is to destabilize this country to the point of pressing it into a revolution. If you have any doubts, try talking to Russians who have been through it. They said nobody in Russia thought it could happen in their country either. Okay? They didn't think it'd happen. And it did. Okay? So, be advised. Just because you live in the good old United States of America is no guarantee that this can't be applied on your soil. So BLM's pressed that. George Floyd, the autopsy and so forth came back that no, it was not cutting off oxygen to his brain or blood flow to the brain that caused his death. It was the drug. They don't even think that because he was still coherent and was being able to breathe and so forth, and they had him over on this side, that indeed, of course, that's the narrative that the BLM put out. Oh, he was killed by the police. It seemed it fell up in Detroit. I mean, there was one where they had it plastered on video that a young man who wasn't even being arrested, his friend was. He wasn't. His friend was being arrested for a triple homicide. He was told, go on, pulled a weapon, and opened fire, and he was a terrible shot, thank heavens, because he was point blank range with one officer he was shooting at. Opened fire on police officers. They killed him. It didn't have to be police officers. That would have been clear-cut self-defense on anybody. Anybody. But yet they were rioting in Detroit. Breonna Taylor, the little saint, almost saint-like EMT, right? Yeah. This girl had been under investigation. Let's take a step back. The story coming from her parents was that the warrant wasn't even in her name or her address. That's a lie. It was definitely in her name and for her address. They had been investigating little Ms. Taylor since 2016. That girl was up to her eyeballs in a drug ring, who had 2 stash houses, lots of guns, lots of money. There was a lot of money at her place. Drugs was being delivered by the Postal Service to her house. Okay. And she was sleeping with 2 of the drug dealers that worked for the group. Kind of the upper echelons of the little drug routine they had going. Yes, indeed, it was. They did have a no-knock exclusion to where they could have did a no-knock, just kicked the door in and went in. But according to neighbors, they got woke up by the police beating on their door, telling them to open the door. It's the police, blah, blah, blah. After giving several notices, they finally breached the door. Out of the dark hallway, there was muzzle flash hitting an officer in the leg. Police returned fire, sent 20 rounds down the hall, and then you had one cop who was standing outside a window who went shooting like an idiot. He's the one that got indicted for risking other people's lives. But the shots went down the hall were indeed justified. Striking poor little Brianna while she slept in her bed. No, that ain't true either. Little Miss Taylor, she was standing alongside her boyfriend with the gun in the hall. He ducked into another doorway. He didn't get a scratch. She caught 7 to 8 rounds. Okay. That's according to transcripts made from the telephones in jailhouses where they were calling people, telling them what went on. There was also an incident, the EMT thing, okay? There was an incident where she had lost that job as an EMT, okay? That's what she kept telling people she was. But apparently she had used her identification and so forth to lease a car a ways back, and then reported the vehicle stolen. Yeah. And when the police recovered the car, they recovered it with a body in the back. Drug deal went wrong? Yeah, I don't know. So, no, Miss Taylor was eyeball deep in drugs with some pretty nefarious fellows. And, like they always say, you lay down with dogs, you're going to get up a fleas. Okay? She indeed did. I don't know how they sent 20 rounds down that hallway, missing her boyfriend, because I think he stepped through a doorway to get out of the line of fire, leaving Ms. Taylor standing in the hallway, and she got hit with 7 to 8 rounds. So yeah, not a good deal. You hate to see anybody die, okay? But Ms. Taylor was no saint, okay? And she was not innocent in that whole thing. No, they didn't have a bad warrant, or they at the wrong house, or just kicked the door in and they thought they were a burglar. Okay? Matter of fact, the boyfriend's own statement was, well, it could have been, in telling his friends the story he was going to cook up, well, I could claim that, how people sometimes knock on the door and say they're police and open up, but they're actually there to rob you for your drugs and money. Sound kind of familiar? But, BLM jumped all over it. Say her name, okay? If I got hit with that one, it'd be what? What do you want me to call her? A drug dealing little idiot? Criminal that got shot? I can give you that one. Innocent? They just didn't like hearing that the police, and when the story came out, boom, there you have it, okay? Craziness. But you will find that most of these people that have been backed by Black Lives Matter, realistically, are criminals. They're either resisting arrest, assaulting police officers, things of this nature, threatening to other people's lives, such as the case of the one fellow who had those kids in that car. Police weren't as concerned about their lives as they were about those children's lives. They were not going to let that man get away. Not with those kids in that car. Wasn't going to happen. So, yeah, let's get realistic here. And you can go down the list, and there might be one or two that might be, yeah, that could be legit. I know that boy up in, I guess it was Toledo, that had a toy gun. Yeah, that was, cops should have took a deep breath before pulling triggers on that. And I agree that police reform is needed in the form of training, okay? Or more cops on the streets so that these guys aren't out there a lot of times by themselves. Let's stop there with BLM. BLM, you don't care about black lives. We all know that you're Marxist communists. We know that your whole mission is to do all the damage to police departments you can do, plus utilize these made up cases, and they are made up, to riot, to burn buildings, to loot, to threaten people, to cause havoc. Part of the plan, folks. And you've got Antifa in the middle of it. I had one fellow tell me something that really, when after he said it, I had to laugh. I was like, yeah, you're really right. When somebody now tells me that they're woke, we're woke. We understand now. I can look them people dead in the eye and say, so what you're telling me is you are nothing but a racist. They're racist. Understand that. They went through their little critical race classes and they're racist. That's what that whole thing is designed to do. That's why racism has become such to the forefront in America today. Blacks helping blacks? No. Black Lives Matter does not help blacks. And I'm going to kind of go over some of this with you. As far as they're justified when a black is killed by police, not really. Not really. Because they list out 12 people. Okay? Let's talk about that. Davenport, Iowa, 2 dead, 2 wounded. Kentucky, 2 dead. Indianapolis, 2 dead. Other riots, 19 dead. Provo, Utah, 1 man shot. Kids in the car, wife in the car, firing through a window. Seattle, you had a 19-year-old that was killed, a 33-year-old that was killed, and 2 17-year-old boys who were wounded. That's current status. So, these guys are in the 20s-somethings for killing people, one of which was an 8-year-old girl, black girl. There you go, Black Lives Matter. There's your running record. Most of these gentlemen that was killed were also black. So it looks like you guys have killed about as many young blacks as the police you're complaining about. Maybe you need to defund and dismantle your organization. But you're not going to do that because you're on a different mission. You just don't want to tell anybody about it. Right? Yeah. Then you got a little Antifa. I was told, but I could not get confirmation of this, that there has been reports to the federal government of Antifa going over to Syria. Yeah. From all over the world. These people are going to Syria for training. Couldn't prove for sure that Americans, but it was suspected. You're having trained terrorists coming up in the Antifa ranks. Trained terrorists. What do you think? They're here to make us all woke? No. They're here to start a revolution. So, there's your Black Lives Matter. Black lives do not matter to these people at all, period, end of quotation. Because if you look at it, the only people they're dealing with is thugs. They're using this to go after police departments to demoralize and reduce the effectiveness of law enforcement. And they're out in black neighborhoods, burning down black-owned businesses and things of this nature. Yeah, they're doing the black community a world of justice, aren't they? Yeah. And there's not like there isn't, and I know, and if I was black, I'd feel the same way. The black on black crime, you gotta shake your head and go, really? Can we quit talking about this and do something about it? Jobs would help. All right, so, you got Antifa, who they've now declared a terrorist organization, which is a good thing, and that's going to be bringing some additional heat down on their little batuxes from the federal level if we keep a president that knows who they are and isn't working for them. The current Democratic ticket, Joe Biden has even called himself a placeholder president if he gets elected. I have the funny feeling you're looking at Kamala Harris as the next president shortly thereafter. Yeah. And that woman is a total piece of work. Total piece of work. But you will notice that most all this stuff is flying up in Democrat-held areas, slapping their little hands and so forth. That is what it's all about. And in the media, just something as simple as to how many people have been shot by BLM Antifa protesters in 2020. You type that into a Google search and you will be amazed at the number of articles you have to look at first, even with that search criteria. You're going to hit everything from, people in Michigan showing up at the state house with guns. Every right-wing deal to where there's been an open carry or a counter-protest where they were open carrying, or that you had militiamen guarding buildings during riots. You got to search through 100 pages before you actually start getting down to the ones where Antifa and Black Lives Matter was carrying guns. Watched a video this morning even, and got a kick out of it. I don't want to call her overweight very much. Woman walks up on a car that they had stopped, okay? But there was police standing nearby, not real close, but close enough to see her. There was a helicopter in the air. It was in LA. A helicopter in the air, and you could blatantly see from the footage being shot from that helicopter of this woman pull a pistol and point it at the driver. Somebody must have reminded her that the cops are there, the helicopter's there, you're doing something really dumb. She put the gun away, starts walking away from the crowd, and finally meets up with another fellow. He was a black gentleman. Made the pass off, and they did a sloppy job because I guess they figured nobody was watching but the helicopter in the sky. Passed it off to him, and he's walking back the other direction as the officers were moving in on him. And both of them were grabbed up. Now, nobody was shot, luckily. What I've primarily learned out there, and I really want you to think about, is if you're confronted by these protesters, case after case after case after case after case after case of it, these people are armed. Understand that. So make that part of your situational awareness. If you start seeing a gun come out, you better be ready to defend yourself. They will shoot you. Okay? They have been shooting a lot of people. So with all that, I'm going to leave it there. You do have a situation of Antifa and Black Lives Matter. They are not what they appear to be. Although they do claim to be Marxist communists. And Antifa, or Black Lives Matter, recently took off the page on their website where it talked about them trying to get rid of the nuclear family, destroy the police departments, blah, 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 for their little revolution. I guess they figured that's being too blatant. Okay. But here's your hierarchy. You have the Democratic Party, who are pushing a lot of this. A lot of your high-ranking Democrats are putting up bail money for these rioters and so forth. You have politicians putting up bail money. You have celebrities, oh yeah, aren't they nice, putting up large amounts for bail money. Basically bailing these rioters, troublemakers, out of jail. And then they're going to get on TV and try to tell you, oh, we're all for law and order. They're lying to you. These movie stars and stuff, I look at them as being useful idiots. Because if the revolution comes, of course, I know a lot of the Democrats think if it comes, we're going to control it, we're going to run it, and we're going to be at the top of the heap when it all dust settles. That's their plan. This election right now is, in which they're already catching the fraud and so forth happening. This election is going to be very, very important, because if we don't have real leadership in this country, we're going to have a problem here. We don't want to see a civil war break out. If you're conservative, get to the polls. Don't play with these ballot things unless you're at risk for COVID and you're really afraid of it. Then, yeah, use a regular absentee ballot and take it back and personally hand it to the Board of Elections. Boom, there you go. They will make sure that it gets processed. Already we're seeing ballots mishandled at polling places and thrown away. U.S. Postal Service backs the Democrats, and I've got a video out there that I just touched the surface of that. The Postal Service throws boxes after boxes and bag after bag of mail in dumpsters alongside roads and have been doing it for years. Okay? These people can't. What was that old commercial they used to use? We deliver, we deliver? Yeah. No, they can't. And we need to revamp the Postal Service. And it may mean getting mail less often. Okay. Right? I could live with that. How about you? And save billions of tax dollars. So let's get serious. If you're a healthy individual, get your tush to the polls. Because that's the one vote that they don't want to see, because guess what? They're not going to be arguing about that vote. Those are good, solid votes. It's going to be all this bulk mail-in stuff that's going to get tied up in the courts for the longest time. We want a landslide through those ballot machines to where their mail-ins don't matter. Okay? Don't matter. And there's also some stuff out there you might want to check in on, where it looks like we got some, I believe it's Wisconsin, large Somali group up there that's beginning to hit the news, where they've got some large-scale voter fraud going on, buying votes, basically. So let's get our ear to the ground, pay close attention, volunteer for becoming poll workers. All right? I know I'm doing it this year. Be there. Be there to watch. Okay? They're always short of volunteers. That's how stuff gets slipped by. Be there. This is Rich Jesse Homestead. I'm going to edit this thing down because it's gotten a little long. But there you go. There you go with BLM and Antifa. You really have four wings of this whole party. You have the Democratic Party. They are up to their eyeballs in this. Bailing them out, things of this nature. Then you have the media. Peaceful protesters, even though Antifa and Black Lives Matter both have said that they are trained Marxist communists. Media don't call them that, no, does it? All right? Keep that in mind. Media's lying to you. And if you kids are getting your news off of Twitter, cut it out. Man, there's more brain dead stuff floats around on there since I had to open up Twitter accounts for these channels. The stuff I see crawl across that page, I shake my head. Like, what kind of moron would believe that? And when you do a little research on it, you find out it's all lies. Use your heads. Pay attention. Volunteer at the polls. While you're there, pull the lever. Vote. In person. Like I said, though, if you can, go down to your election board, get an absentee ballot, fill it out, and take it right back to them. So there you go. Those aren't going to be messed with. Love you guys. Appreciate you. I've got some more. I got one more, I think, on this, and then I'm going to shut up about it. I want to get back to what I do. And that is some of what I saw out west. Amazing. Amazing. And you can get little touches of it if you want to go take a look at it. It's Rick, Jesse Homestead. I love you guys. Appreciate you. I want you to be safe out there. Watch it if any protests break out in your area. Understand they're coming armed. Okay? Protect your family. They're shooting people out there. Over 20 to date this year. Be safe.